Hello, and welcome back to another episode of PPM 101, where today we're covering the topic of phase gates. To answer the question, what are phase gates? The phase gate framework is a governance structure used to evaluate, authorize, and monitor projects as they pass through the project lifecycle. Each phase is a segment of the project lifecycle where the project team has to complete certain deliverables before moving on to the next phase. At the end of each phase is a gate review. Each gate represents a go, no-go, modify, or defer decision by the portfolio governance team. In the previous video on work intake, we used this diagram to highlight the work intake process. Here we can see that it works very well in conjunction with phase gate. The work intake process is how we get new requests into the organization. The phase gate process is how we monitor those projects through the project lifecycle. There's a number of benefits to a phase gate process. Firstly, it helps us screen out misaligned projects. A winning portfolio must contain winning projects. Therefore, the portfolio governance team needs to ensure that all projects going through the phase gate process are strategically aligned and add value. Otherwise, they should reject them and screen them out. Next, the phase gate process helps control the flow of incoming work. There may be times when there's more work to be done than there are resources available, and a well-functioning phase gate process can help the governance team put a few projects on hold until resources are available. Next, it helps steer the scope of project work. A cross-functional portfolio governance team can help improve the scope of project work as new information is made available phase by phase. Next, phase gates actually help improve project quality because there's certain deliverables that need to be accomplished or completed at each phase and then reviewed by the governance team. Continuing, phase gate process also provides greater visibility of those important projects. Projects cannot just go and hide or go into a black hole. They need to be reviewed periodically by the governance team. This results in better monitoring of project progress. And it also improves communication throughout the organization so that employees who are not close to a project can learn more about the current progress of that project based on the information from the gate review. Especially if the project got put on hold or canceled. And finally, phase gate process provides good structure to the project management process, and we'll see this in a moment. Here we have a sample phase gate framework with 5 phases: a discovery phase, an initiation phase, a planning phase, an execute and control phase, and a closure phase. The number of phases and gates will differ from company to company based on the unique circumstances. This is just one example. Each of the diamonds represents the gates, and right below that it highlights what decisions are being made. So at gate 1, there's an approval of an idea and an approval to initiate, to add resources for the initiation phase. Under gate criteria, we can see the governance council or the executive or project sponsor that's making the key decisions. This is the portfolio criteria that the governance team uses to make good decisions. And based on that, we can ensure that we're doing the right work. At the very bottom, under deliverables, we see the project team's deliverables that are required phase by phase. This helps us ensure that we're doing the work right. So I like to say the phase gate process helps ensure that we're doing the right work right. Let's take a quick look at each of these sample phases to learn more about the phase gate process. Here we have the discovery phase, which is part of the work intake process to review and assess the merits of new proposals. Each phase should have objectives that are made clear to the project team. There should be decision-making criteria. There should be specific phase tasks to complete the phase in addition to whatever tasks are necessary at the project level. And there would also be specific outputs. In this case, the discovery form is sent to the PMO for review, and the project backlog is updated for annual planning, if appropriate. Here we have an initiation phase. This phase could be used to complete a business case before a full formal project plan is developed. Again, we have certain objectives: to identify the key requirements, to conduct cost-benefit analysis, and to identify and secure resources for the planning phase. The phase gate process also helps organizations fund projects phase by phase, rather than funding an entire project up front when a lot of information, key information, is missing. Again, we have the key phase tasks and the output. So after a business case has been reviewed and approved, one of the outputs is having it added to the official project list. In the planning phase, we'd have a detailed project plan developed. And again, high-level objectives such as completing the project plan, solidifying the project scope, creating the schedule, communicating a critical path, and capturing key risks and issues. The decision-making criteria at this point may be different than at the other phases, because by this point, the business case has been reviewed and approved, and now we're determining if the project still contributes enough value to make it worth executing once the plan's in place. Helps us understand, is the project still feasible? And do we understand the scope well enough to be successful? A good phase gate process is going to have different objectives and decision-making criteria at each phase. And then to make it easier on the project teams, there should be key phase tasks identified. The execute and control phase is really about the project working toward the solutions identified in the project charter and business case. And at the end of this phase, it's really to determine if the project completed its objectives before it gets closed out. Again, for each organization, there may be a different level of rigor based on the need. And you can add more deliverables or fewer deliverables, more criteria or less criteria, depending on the maturity and the need of your organization. This last phase is a closure phase. So the primary project work has been completed, but a transition may be needed as well, as in addition to capturing lessons learned to improve future project success. So the objectives for this phase are different than the previous phase, and the decision-making criteria is also updated. In this case, did we meet all the objectives and stakeholder expectations? Have all the deliverables and solutions been successfully transferred to the business? So you can see with a quick overview of each phase that the objectives, decision-making criteria, and key phase tasks will differ from phase to phase. If you need help setting up a phase gate process, visit our website or email us. And when you sign up for our newsletter, you'll receive our free ebook, Prioritization with Purpose. Thank you.